Season 2 is finally here, and crime has broken out across the island, all fighting for control over a newfound abundance of gold. A powerful crime boss, Fletcher Kane, has risen up to the occasion, seizing control of the spreading kintsugi on Oninoshima. But with all of the main characters from last season still focused on obtaining the Zero Shard, and none of them being involved in the main storyline quests for this season, it begs the question, what exactly is Season 2's story all about? Today, we're going to answer this and much more, even theorizing about how this season of crime and robbery will end. And I promise you, it is not what you were expecting. Consider using my creator code TLL the Reaper in the item shop. And without further ado, let's dive into the crime-riddled island. Of course, like any good season launch video, it's only right that I explain how we got here. Last season ended off with what I considered to be the coolest mini event Fortnite has ever created. The plot of last season was fairly simple: rescue Jade from the spirit realm and figure out the whereabouts of the comet. As it turned out, the comet was revealed to be, and I quote, a shard of pure reality from somewhere far, far away. Jones explained to Hope at some point off screen that this was a part of a much more powerful object named the 0 Point. But there was one huge problem. The demons had captured it when it hit the island and brought it back into the spirit realm. Now it's in the hands of a mysterious, malevolent force, nicknamed the Dark Presence. In the live event, Dago underwent an ancient ritual, combining several masks to create what we can only assume is a modern-day mask of power. Once he did this, he used this power to forcefully try ripping Jade from the spirit realm. Unfortunately though, Shogun X didn't like this plan and ripped her back inside and stepped out to handle Dago himself. In a flash of light, Dago activated his mask and had an epic final showdown with Shogun X in a sort of astral projection state, leaving the island completely unaffected by their battle. The tides shifted a couple times, but the 0 Point blades we crafted proved useful, giving Dago the upper hand in the end, winning the battle and returning all of Shogun X's energy to the spirit realm. But this victory did not come without consequences. The overload of energy flowing into the portal caused the kintsugi, which is the gold holding the portal together, to explode, leaking out and spreading across the island. Jade was now freed, but the gold was unleashed too. Fast forward a couple weeks, and Season 2 Lawless begins. The kintsugi has now affected much more of the island, attracting the attention of greedy criminals and crime bosses. A new villain, Fletcher Kane, wastes no time and founds his own company, Alpha, to mine the gold and fund his endeavors. He lives in a mansion built right on top of the ruins of Lost Lake. Shiny Shafts is where you can find the main mining operation Fletcher Kane is running. An outlaw oasis is his resort that he owns for criminals to take a nice spa day after a day of crime. And last but not least, Crime City. This city isn't affiliated with Fletcher Kane whatsoever, but instead the place where most criminal operations happen. At face value, that seems like all there really is to this season: a crime boss and a ton of individual criminals who want their slice of the golden cake. But when examining the NPCs on the island and the upcoming weekly lore quests, it all begins to get a lot more complicated. Oh, and before I forget to mention, Fletcher Kane is not from the spirit realm. Although his appearance feels a bit sudden, it's important to remember that there is a huge amount of characters on the island that we currently don't know exist until it's their time to shine. Last season, we had an NPC teasing Midas that an old friend of his was making power moves. This confirms that Fletcher Kane was on the island in Season 1. He just wasn't important enough to acknowledge until he pounced on the gold in Season 2 and grew his empire. Now that we got that out of the way, we can continue. The storyline this season is split into two major parts. The first half is about the Battle Pass characters and will be experienced through our weekly storyline quests. The second half is with the NPCs on the island, mostly consisting of the main characters from Season 1. First, let's understand the quest half. In classic season launch fashion, the names of most of the story quests have already been leaked, along with the order that they'll be released in. The first week has already launched, and it's themed around Skillet, the island's main black market dealer. The second is for Joss, the third is for Midas, which is also coincidentally on the day of our first huge update of the season. The fourth is for Keisha Cross, the fifth is finally for Fletcher Kane, and the final part remains unknown. As you can see, it seems like the story quest for this season will play out in the form of focusing on individual characters to progress the lore, similar to how it was in Last Resort. Week 1 started off a bit slow, and there wasn't really much lore involved, but we do have some leaks for the upcoming parts that give us little sneak peeks at what they could bring to the table, and the plot for this season may be taking a huge twist. Part 2 is based on this season's chemist, Joss, She's a hardcore magic skepticist, believing there must be a scientific explanation to the magic she sees on Oninoshima. The leaks for this part seem to suggest that in the end, she didn't find anything strange about the gold spreading across the island. As it turns out, it's just straight up gold, but she firmly believes there must be some other explanation, and she sets out to find it. While this might seem like an unsatisfying conclusion at first, it's all but. What week 2 does is introduce us to the idea that all isn't quite what it seems. Since the launch of chapter 6, we've chalked almost everything up to just being magic. But with Joss in town, she's throwing all of that out the window. She believes there's something more scientifical going on, and she intends to figure it out. I expect Joss to return later in the season with discoveries that can help shape our understanding of this season, and even prepare us for some science-based factors in season 3. But I know that's ways away. Moving into week 3, it's completely focused on Midas. While we really don't have that many leaks to go off of here, the little snippets we have are very strange. First off, it seems like Midas isn't actually a part of the outlaws on the island. Rather, he's going to be giving them peace offerings to get them on his side. Along with this, his quests aren't the smash and grab ones you'd expect them to be. He has us using a sensor backpack to search for mysterious energy and to go steal a copy of the mask making book from the mask maker's hideout. What is going on? Again, that's pretty much the extent of what we can see from Midas's week, but that's all we need to see to know that Midas is here with much bigger plans than just stealing gold. He's here for a greater purpose. We just don't know what it is yet. I don't believe we have any leaks for week 4, but we do have some lines of dialogue from Fletcher Kane for week 5. Most of his lines seem to be trying to persuade us to join his organization, Alpha. But near the end, he says something interesting. Enjoy your discount while it lasts. I'll be closing up shop shortly. Why on earth would Fletcher Kane already be packing his bags 6 weeks into the season? Now, keep in mind, this season is strangely short for modern standards, with a runtime of only 70 days. Since these parts are back to back each week, after these 6 parts are over, that still leaves 4 weeks left of the season. And with the fact that Fletcher Kane is already packing his bags, this leads me to believe that the climax of this season is a lot sooner than usual. Similar to how the mini event of Absolute Doom was a whole month before the season ended, we could be seeing something similar happen this season, with different quests being added afterwards for an entire month of season 3 build-up. We'll just have to wait and find out. It's definitely far too early to tell. But that's about it for the quest leaks we have. It seems like Joss will be adding a scientific touch to the lore this season, possibly making brand new revelations that we didn't think possible, leading into season 3. And on an oddly similar note, Midas won't be up to his usual shenanigans, instead sending us out to scan energy and collect mask making books. We're definitely in for an interesting season. Now onto the second half of this season's storyline, the NPCs. Throughout the island, we can find every single one of the main characters from last season, most now at different locations. Night Rose, Hope, Jones, Jade, and Kendo roam about, each still talking about the events of last season. Talking to each of them reveals some crucial parts to the storyline of season 2 that are otherwise a complete secret to players. So let's explore a bit of their dialogue. And real quick, huge shout out to FN Lore Approved for making these super handy dialogue sheets that we'll be using throughout the video. Make sure to go drop him a follow. Starting off strong, we've got character 1 out of 5. Jade. She tells Kendo that she's worried about Dago, wherever he is. This is our first sign that since the live event, Dago has actually been missing. I've got a whole video planned to dive deeper into the lore of the event, the Dark Presence, and where exactly Dago might be, but to give you all a bit of that theory, let me remind you of something he said before the live event began. Saving Jade won't be enough. I have to enter the darkness and defeat what lingers there. And when you ask Jade about Dago, she flat out says he's obsessed with the darkness he saw in the spirit realm. He thinks he alone can face it. He's wrong. If he tries to face the heart of the darkness alone, he will lose. It will take him. We have to stop him, but I don't know if we can. It seems like rather joining Jade back on the island, he stayed back in the spirit realm to go take down the Dark Presence by himself. As sick as this may be, Jade is likely right. He's severely underestimating its power. We'll have to keep an eye on this in the coming months. Aside from this, Jade offers her assistance to Hope's quest, which, speaking of, let's see what our second character, Hope, has to say. One of her default interactions tells us that she's making slow progress on securing the shard, but she desperately needs a plan. Furthermore, she tells Jones that they need a way to breach the spirit realm, since only demons can get through. This will be the main storyline taking place with the characters from last season. Honestly, it's gonna get a bit exhausting to keep calling them the characters from last season, so going forward, I'll call Hope and her team, Hope's team. She tells Kendo that Dago will turn up eventually, even more proof that he's not currently located on the island. Night Rose, character 3, is hanging out with Jones at Demon's Dojo now that she's free of her bonds to Shogun X. But even though she's free, it isn't all sunshine and rainbows. One of her lines is possibly the most important one throughout the entirety of Season 2's launch, and sets the tone for the rest of Chapter 6. When you interact with her, she has a chance to say, "A great darkness is building, though no one will listen." It's clear that she's referring to the Dark Presence, which confirms to us that it will continue playing a big role in the storyline of Season 2. Character 4, Jones, is mostly centered around the 0 point, which is quite fitting. Cat's out of the bag, Hope and I are hunting a 0 point shard. I'm not afraid of much, but a 0 point shard in the wrong hands? Yeesh. While these aren't voice lines, it's still super cool to finally see Jones talking about the 0 point again. And last but not least, character 5, Kendo. The only notable dialogue he has is with Jade and Dago, elaborating on what we already know. Dago is missing and he's up to something. When fighting some of Fletcher Kane's Alpha Guards though, he has a chance to yell out, "Those masks look like Dago's." It seems like Alpha actually raided Dago's mask making shop and stole all of his masks, which is why they can open void tears and teleport. This is actually a really cool line from Kendo, because it confirms that Fletcher Kane successfully got his guards using old masks now that Dago is gone. Now that we covered all of that daunting dialogue, we can filter it into a concise explanation for how it may be involved with Season 2's quest storyline. As we already discussed, Joss is going to be studying the science of Oninoshima, and Midas is going to take interest in the mask making that Dago was using. Maybe Midas will take an interest because he's seen the Alpha Guards using Dago's masks. With both of these plots combined, it seems likely that Hope and her team will work alongside Joss and Midas to find a way to combine science and mask making to enter the spirit realm and steal the shard back to the island. This would be the perfect way to end off Season 2, a season themed after crime, stealing, and greed. The characters from both sides of this season's story, the crime aspect and the shard aspect, joining forces to create a plan to heist back the shard, leading into Season 3, which would likely be the consequences of this shard being brought to Oninoshima. All in all, that is the entire storyline of Season 2 explained. I hope you all enjoyed this deep breakdown of all of the characters and their upcoming storylines, and if you did, be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. If you'd like to also support me in Fortnite, consider using my creator code TLL the Reaper in the item shop. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, keep reaping.